Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Esoteric Ramblings. I'm Jesse Arnold, and today I'm bringing you my review of Loki, Episode 2. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. I've got my new Loki review for you coming up. My comic rundown, week 24, will probably be either much later tonight or possibly even Thursday, just because my new work schedule, I was not able to complete my reading and get a recording in for the comics yet. So for today, at least you have the Loki review. I will be giving a spoiler warning in a little bit, just before I get into the details of the actual episode. But like with last week's episode, so spoiler warning now, if you have not watched episode 1 of Loki, I am going to talk about things in episode 1. As with all my videos, if I'm talking about a series or a series of movies, I will reference the things that came before in the current episode without spoiler warning, although I'm kind of giving spoiler warning now, I guess. But anyway, last week's episode I really enjoyed. I think the cast and crew are doing a fantastic job with this show. As much as WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier felt like they were part of the MCU and the quality and scale that they were delivering us, somehow I feel Loki is even deeper into that production value. I don't know if it's just the immensity of the TVA and all that they have, and just this whole new dimension that we're just kind of thrust into in such a way where unlike Loki, where he's questioning the reality of it all, I feel like we're given such a glimpse into it, and it's so mundane and so ridiculous that it feels like it has to be real, at least within the contents of the show and the MCU. I think, again, the cast and crew did a great job. I did notice last week, during the credits, there's blank title cards. And I believe I noticed this. I don't know if I noticed it in WandaVision, but I did notice it for sure during Falcon and Winter Soldier, where it looks like there's more cast to be added to the title cards at the end as we are introduced to more characters throughout the season. And like WandaVision, I feel like this Loki series, at least this iteration of it, I can't imagine it being more than one season. Just because of the high quality of the production value and the storyline, I feel like Wanda, I don't think there's any way to redo WandaVision without returning to Westview and putting all those people back into the TV world, which would just be awful. So I don't think Loki, at least this variation, no pun intended, is going to be more than one season. Trying to think what else I can say. The music is great. I really love the score on this. Again, I think Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson especially really, just seeing them on screen together is so much fun. I'm surprised at how much Mobius is involved in this series. I did not think he would be as involved based on the trailer footage, which is good on them for not revealing too much there, but I'm really enjoying the interactions between those two. Yeah, and let's see, what else can I say? Yeah, I really like this episode. I think it just takes everything they introduced in the first episode and just cranks it up another notch. We do get a little more story, a little more background, and with that, I guess I'll just throw out the spoiler warning now and jump right into the details of this week's episode. All right, so spoilers are incoming for the episode, and at the end I will give some of my predictions or guesses, not so much what I actually think is 100% going to happen, but what my creative mind is going to as the possibilities. So this week's episode, we pick up with Loki now kind of doing almost a community service type aid to the TVA. He's doing research and reading all these different details and learning their videos and all this stuff. And as we learned at the end of last week's episode, their main target is him. And the interesting thing is, I'll get to that. So they're doing this research, and he discovers a way that this variant of him, this bad version of Loki that's doing all these problems and hunting all these teams, is hiding in apocalyptic cataclysmic events, because that timeline is about to end, or at least in that area. So he looks at Ragnarok, and there's no time variance recorded or Nexus energy recorded, however they have it. They do reference Nexus energy, Nexus events, and variance energy, variant effects, that sort of thing. So, which is interesting because that ties back to Wanda. There's a whole thing with her and the pills she's taking, and the stuff in WandaVision. So Nexus is definitely seems like to be something. It's definitely something in the Marvel comics, and it definitely seems like it's going to be something in the movies and the shows and the MCU. So, but he realizes that this variant, this evil variant of himself, is doing whatever he's doing and then hiding in cataclysmic, apocalyptic moments. For example, he reads up on Ragnarok and realizes there's none of these energy signatures there because on Asgard, nothing survives. So there's no timeline to alter. So they test it out and they go back to Pompeii right before it explodes or erupts. And, Loki goes out and he just makes this huge scene in front of all the villagers and the people of the city. And Mobius is there watching, and none of the variant signatures, the branching timelines occur. And they leave right before it erupts. And, they prove the theory that the variant can be hiding in these moments when no variant timeline can emerge from what they do, because it's a cataclysmic / apocalyptic event. So they start looking for different things, and they do research. They find one in a Rox cart, which seems like a new alternate version of Roxxon, where it's like a Roxxon Walmart. They go to the superstore, and I believe it's 2050, as a hurricane or something is approaching Alabama, and all the people are hiding there, and they realize that's where this gum, that kablooey from the little French village or cathedral they go to in the first episode is from. And I thought it was interesting there was only 9 sticks of gum. I thought that was a very nice detail in that, or candy or whatever it was. And it was one of the best lines when Mobius is explaining what kablooey is, that it's candy. He's like, "Don't you have candy on Asgard?" And Loki says, "Yeah, grapes and nuts." And Mobius is like, "No wonder you're so..." I forget what he said now, but he's like, "No wonder you're so neurotic or so wound up or whatever." I really like that. I love the interplay between the two of those, because Loki's all tricks and deception, and Mobius knows he's all tricks and deception, and like in a different way to Thor, because Thor's experienced it, whereas Mobius has read all about it and all these things. And it's just a really interesting interplay, especially, having seen Loki for over 10 years in these movies. And it's just, and like, they're not putting up with his crap. Like, no one's giving him the respect he thinks he deserves, or even does deserve. And it's such a wonderful dynamic. I really enjoy it. And yet he's still Loki. He's still everything that you love about him. So they go to the store, and they realize they're trying to track this variant, and they won't let Loki and Mobius go together. The team, I don't remember her name. The guard, I think she's like CO15 or something like that. The guard that arrests Loki in the first episode, she takes him, and then she gets possessed. She goes to help a person or talk to someone, like a regular human, in the store, and something happens. He touches her, and this green energy passes to her. He passes out, and she starts talking to Loki. And you now realize that she is being the mouthpiece for this variant, for this evil Loki, and they have this whole conversation, and then it passes to another character and another character, and so it's kind of the first time meeting what might be the villain of the episode or the series, or it might be one of those things where this is kind of like the henchman of the villain, and the real villain will reveal itself later. We'll see. And it's big dramatic buildup. There's all the time bombs they have set everywhere that are going to like vaporize everything and reset the timeline. And you realize that this Loki has set all these things up to teleport back to the TVA and destroy the timeline, or throughout the timeline, I guess, not to the TVA itself. And there's a lot more talk about who the timekeepers actually are. And so it ends in this climactic sequence where these bombs are like falling throughout the timeline, and you see the workers back in the TVA, which furthers my belief that it's all actually real, at least within the confines of the movie or the show. And it's not some illusion for Loki, because we go back to the offices and see them reacting to these things happening. And they're like splintering off. All these timelines are splintering off. And then the villain reveals themselves, and it is a blonde-haired woman dressed similarly to Loki. Or at least Loki's normal outfit. So my first guess, and because they put like a little Easter egg in there, not even an Easter egg, a reference, when the possession happens, and Loki's just like, enchantment is like a cowardly way to do things, subtle or something to that. And as soon as they revealed the blonde-haired woman in the Loki garb, I was like, oh, is this Enchantress? So I did a little reading real quick after the episode, before recording, where it could be Enchantress, it could be Amora, it could be Sylvie something, or Sylvia. We'll see. But I definitely feel like she is going to be the MCU's representation of Enchantress, whether it's full-on Amora or this other character, or she's a servant or worker for Amora, or if it's, if she's created by another version of Loki somewhere, or if she's just a blonde-haired version of Loki from an alternate timeline. We'll find out, I guess. But it was just exciting to see someone that's not just Tom Hiddleston playing an evil version of Loki. So I like that. I like that take on it, and the episode kind of ends there. And we do get a new name I've already forgotten the actress's name, in the title cards at the end. It filled in one of the blanks. So I think that as the series goes on, we're going to get a couple more people in there. Now, some of my theories, and I thought this last week, but I don't know if I can't remember if I put it in my video, but I feel like they're going to possibly set up Kang, maybe not have him actually appear in the series, but references to him, things that are going to set him up to be a villain going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being one of the main villains in the next couple phases of the MCU. Because I was thinking about this when Bruce Banner, aka Hulk, goes back to New York in Endgame, and he's trying to get the stone from the time stone from the Ancient One. She says that, I can't give this to you, it would leave us, defenseless against our greatest enemy. And in the movie at the time, I of course thought it meant Dormammu. But I'm starting to think that's not who she was referencing, especially because of all these things with altering timelines and the way she did her whole speech about that in the movie, and the way the timeline looks in the TVA. If the time stone is the most precious item to defend their reality, then the villain is probably some sort of time person. And with all of that in jeopardy, and the stones are now destroyed in the current timeline, at least from my understanding, at the end of Endgame, the stones have been returned to their proper place, and they're destroyed because the Thanos of 2024 destroyed them on the planet where his garden was. So the stones are gone. And I don't know if that's part of what all this chaos is springing out of. But I think Kang is possibly going to be set to be one of the biggest villains going forward, or at least kind of like a Loki, where he's going to be a villain throughout the next couple phases. That's just my thoughts. And, maybe this female Loki is a servant of his, or him in disguise, or maybe it is a version of Tom Hiddleston's Loki. I don't know. I think there's a lot of room to play around and see where that goes. And of course, Loki seeing this door open that this woman has run through as Mobius and the other guards are coming to like get him, and they're like, no, don't go. He goes through it. So I think we're going to see Loki skipping through some different times like we saw in the previews. But yeah, I'm really excited. I think the show is really interesting. Like WandaVision, it's giving us something different, very unique, and that I don't think would have been as effective as a movie. Yeah, whereas Falcon and Winter Soldier, I absolutely loved. I love Sam and Bucky, and I love that Sam is now Captain America going forward. And that might be my favorite of these three shows so far, but there's just something really special about WandaVision and Loki, the way, just the creative adventures they're able to do with this, where the heart of Falcon and Winter Soldier I'm a little more drawn to, but it is in more real world setting of the MCU. So the visuals and the practicality of the show itself is a little more normal and grounded, whereas these are definitely out there and weird and bizarre, and they're a little more fun to watch in those regards. But I love all these shows. I'm really rambling on here, which is kind of the point. But yeah, so I'm really excited to see where these things go. I'm not sure. I did look up that the judge and kind of the boss of the TVA is Ravina Renslayer, which is a slight change to a name of a character, Ravina Renslayerin, in the comics, who is a close associate of Kang's. So I don't know if she's going to be a one-to-one comparison to her comic counterpart. Clearly, most of the MCU are not an exact representation of their comics, but they usually get a lot, especially the main characters are definitely in tone with who their characters are supposed to be in the comics, if they alter their stories and some of the things. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm really excited to see where the rest of the show goes. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm really talking a lot. So I'm going to wrap this up. You guys have a great Wednesday. I'll be back with my comic rundown for week 24 as soon as I can get it finish reading my comics and get it posted, and then I'll be back on Friday for sure with my Bad Batch reaction. And with that, I'll bid you a farewell. Have a great day, week, whatever it is when you watch this. Thanks for watching. Throw some comments down below if you want to interact. Please don't spoil anything in this episode, at least until next week. Or I think I have my email connected on here somewhere. If you want to shoot me a direct message, feel free to do that. But yeah, I'm going to go. Thank you very much. I'll catch you next time. And as always, ramble on.